Welcome back into the Friday Night 360 AZ preview show. Haley Stasiak and Jordan Ham here, getting you ready for the first round of playoffs. We're joined now by Cienega head coach Patrick Nugent. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
You returned a lot of guys from last season. How does that experience kind of benefit you as the playoffs come around?
Well, I think, last year we got the #1 seed. I don't think anybody really expected us to go. And, I think the fantasy of winning a state title was kind of hard until we, saw the big boys. But I think this year's group knows it's going to take a little bit more. And we know when we get up to the Phoenix teams, it's a lot of challenging games. And whether you're the 1 seed or the 16th seed, you got to play good football every week. And, that's what our kids realize right now, that, just because we're the 1 seed doesn't mean much. We've got to beat the teams to get there.
It's the second year with Jamari Joyner running things on offense, and he's not short on any options in terms of playmakers, including Terrell Hayward, who's just having a great year. How have you seen the offense progress from last year to this year?
It's really been all about Jamari. Jamari's really grown as a thrower. He's always been a freak athlete, was able to run all over the field, but we've really increased our passing game a little bit where Jamari's able to put that and make the reads he needs to make and make the throws that are just phenomenal. Where last year his technical part, his feet were never right, so he struggled a little bit. He was just more of an athlete playing quarterback. This year I think he's really turned into a quarterback. So those weapons we have on the outside are a little bit more in the game plan because Jamari can now get them the ball.
As you mentioned, it's the second season in a row that you guys have that #1 seed. What is it that you're telling these guys to keep them on the path ahead and not kind of let that seeding get to their heads?
Well, last year we got beat by about 40-something in the semifinals against Centennial. So I think the 1 seed was, didn't mean much to us. We know what our goal is. I don't think anybody expected us to be the 1 seed going to the last Friday nights with Centennial. So we kind of thought we'd be the 2 seed, and it was nice to wake up knowing we were the 1, only because we get to stay in Tucson the whole time. And, until Tucson can beat a Phoenix team, we've got a lot to prove. And, once again, we've been talking about Centennial being the team to beat, and our kids know that, and they know what it's going to take to beat the good teams. And we got a long way to get to Centennial, and I'm glad they're on the other side. But, with Cream Creek and Verado and obviously Notre Dame, there's some really good football teams out there.
When you look at the 5A bracket as well as the 4A bracket, there are plenty of Tucson teams from yourself, Marana, Sal Point Catholic, Catalina Foothills, Walden Grove, Marana, Mountain View, Ironwood Ridge. How have you seen the progression of Tucson and Southern Arizona football over the past couple of years?
Well, we've always had our small number of really good football teams. I mean, South Point won a few years ago. Ironwood Ridge won a few years ago. So we've always had those 4 or 5 really good football teams. And unfortunately, that's the way it's been. Tucson football isn't where it needs to be. We don't have the great group of numbers of great teams. And, it's the same teams every year getting the playoffs. So we've got to change that, that whole attitude down here, because we need more teams to challenge and have the respect from the Phoenix schools, because once again, we've got the 4 or 5 teams that can go up and play with anybody. But, obviously we're not getting enough of them to be able to do that. So Tucson's always going to be the little brother, and we understand that, but we've got to win championships if we want, more respect.
5A as a whole is a pretty good division. When you look at all these teams, what sticks out to you the most?
Wow, we were scared to be the #3 seed when that's what we were going into, because I really believe there's 14 teams that could go out and play some really good football and get to the finals, because there's just some really great 5A teams right now, and I think it's up for grabs. It's about who's going to play the best football the next 4 weeks. We know Centennial and obviously Liberty is had a great win last week, and there's just it's going to be a challenge. There's some big body run teams that want to be out there. Then you've got a few teams that want to throw the ball a little bit, for us. And obviously Marana's a really good team a lot of people don't know about. We saw them early in the season. They can throw the ball all over the field, and they're going to be a challenge for Verado this week and obviously down the road for anybody. But I think the group is really a challenge, and I think everybody's telling the same thing. There's a lot of teams that can win it, and I think we all have an opportunity. But, we still think, obviously, Williamsfield is the defending champ, and they're playing good right now. But, we saw what Centennial was like, and we saw what they were like against the Florida team. So we know they're probably, even though they're not the 1 seed, they're probably still the favorite running into this.
Coach, thanks for coming on with us. Good luck in the playoffs.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That was Cienega head coach Patrick Nugent. Interesting there, as he described Tucson schools being the little brother of these Phoenix schools, because that's something you and I have spoken about time and time again on this show.
Right, and I feel like this year is a stronger year than most. There are more teams that are pushing towards those higher seeds and that sort of thing. But as he did say, the teams that I listed off, quite a few of them are the ones you can expect to be in the playoffs. But Coach Nugent, as we've seen, he doesn't mince words. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. And he had a very good point that these teams can go deep in the playoffs, but obviously the respect will definitely start to come as the state championships start to come to Southern Arizona.
As we continue with today's Friday Night 360 AZ preview show, we will have Desert Ridge head coach Jeremy Hathcock up and then Arizona Varsity's Ralph Anston. Keep it here.